So we're on our way to go visit Olaf in the hospital. I thought he was gonna die.
It's okay, baby. I love you. What are you doing, baby? You got you some food for us.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So today we're talking about Olaf and everything that happened with him and the big medical scare that we had with him. And spoiler, if you didn't see before, he's doing okay now, but he wasn't for a while.
Yeah, if you follow me on Instagram, you'll know the last couple weeks have been really, really scary. So we just wanted to just give you some updates and go like more into detail about what happened and what we've been dealing with the last 3 weeks now.
Yeah, so I shared a lot of it on my Instagram too.
Did you?
From yours. So yeah, Gabby's got a better way of doing stories than I do. So
We're in our swing right now, by the way. We have this like beautiful little
hanging out with all the birds.
turkey.
So we got some chickens and the turkey.
This is like the really pretty part.
This is the view right now as we sit on this swing. So that's our lake back there, and I get the ducks in the lake and all the chickens and turkeys hanging out around us right now. But
so if you don't know, Chris still goes down south for work. So I'm alone a lot of the time on weekends, you know, Friday through Sunday, sometimes Friday through Monday. And Chris's car has like 300,000 miles on it, and it's
about to catch on fire.
Pretty run to the ground. So he takes my car, my Honda Civic. So that kind of leaves me sometimes in like a tough position. I try not to drive his car unless it's like an emergency, and like I only try to stay around in town. We are trying to buy a truck right now. We're actually going Tuesday to go look at some cars, but so we'll just start by saying that. So Friday he leaves. Chris actually fed the birds for me on Friday. And then Saturday, when I collected the bowls, I noticed that like Olaf literally did not eat any of his pellets. Like he loves his pellets. He'll finish the entire bowl. It's empty. When you give him new food, he like runs up to you. Like he just loves food. So immediately I was like, that's really weird. Called Chris and I'm like, well, you fed him yesterday. Did you notice anything? Was he fine? Is this like a one day to the next thing where he's not eating? Like,
yeah, so he just wasn't as enthusiastic as he usually is. So usually he like comes running over, he immediately wants to eat, and you know, he's really interested, and he just showed a lack of interest.
Yeah, he said he wasn't as like enthusiastic as he normally is, but he didn't really think much about it. But Saturday, once he didn't eat anything, we kind of were like, okay, something's going on. So I brought him inside, I gave him pellets, I gave him his chop, I gave him anything that you could think of. I made him scrambled eggs, I made him sweet potato, and he wouldn't touch any of it. So then I started to panic. So a lot of the time with birds, they're amazing at hiding their illnesses, and by the time they start showing symptoms, it's too late. We went through this with Elmo. I'm sure by now you know that we lost our rescue to collectus parrot last May. It was very sudden. He showed no symptoms. He was probably almost 20 years old. We had him for like 4.5 years. And Chris was literally feeding him watermelon the day before. He was fine. And then the next morning, he was like pretty unresponsive. We rushed him to the vet, and he was in renal failure. So we try to like notice signs as soon as they happen, but a lot of the time it's too late. So I was definitely panicking. It's also a Saturday, and everybody closes early on Saturday. I also don't have a car. And on Sundays, everyone's closed too. So now I'm like, oh my gosh, is he even going to make it to Monday? University of Florida is great, but sometimes it can be hard to get in. And if for like regular stuff, they book like 2 to 3 weeks out. And for like emergencies, they're like, well, if it absolutely can't wait, like the animal's dying, then you can bring it in. So at that point, I'm like, I don't know if this is like an emergency. I don't know if he's just like not feeling good today, you know? So basically Saturday, I was just really panicking. I made Chris actually drive back home, bring me my car. So he was all the way in Homestead, and he drove like, what, 6 hours after working all day just to be with me. And then Sunday, same thing, just wasn't eating. So Monday morning, I brought him into the vet, which is like a half hour away. Great vet. She sees all of our exotics. She's fantastic. But Olaf was like getting stressed out and they were having a hard time getting blood, and they don't have an in-house machine for blood work. So she's like, since he's not eating and like not being 100% himself, I don't think that we should wait for results. I think that you should take him to this bird specialist in Jacksonville. So I did. I drove an hour and a half there, and I got there, and I was just hoping that like we would start like broad spectrum antibiotics and they would like have like the blood work back. And she told me that like she recommends hospitalizing him, and I just like totally lost it. It was rough. I suffer from anxiety. It's not like something I don't think I'm very open about it on social media, but I have horrific anxiety. It's crippling sometimes. And especially when it comes to the animals, like it really messes me up. So Monday was really difficult. Leaving him there was really difficult. And then just only being able to speak to the vet like once a day, because like, you know, they're busy, and I was a veterinary technician. I understand they're busy and they have emergencies and they can't be on the phone with you nonstop. They said I could visit, but again, it's an hour and a half away and we have 75 animals here. So I definitely couldn't visit daily or as much as I wanted. But Tuesday they called me and they said like he's still not eating and his white blood cells were elevated. So we were dealing with an infection. They started him on antifungals, antibacterials, just a bunch of different things. And she said on Wednesday, if he wasn't eating, we would go ahead and do x-rays. So I called Wednesday morning. The vet hadn't gotten in yet. So I didn't get an update until like 8 o'clock at night on Wednesday. And I like, it was really bad.
She was a mess.
It was really bad. I couldn't eat. Like I was just pacing around. It was
just, crying, just the whole 9 yards. And yeah, it was.
I mean, I thought he was going to die. Like a lot of the times when, in my experience, when you bring birds in, like to be hospitalized, they don't come back. So like I dropped him off, like expecting not to see him again, like truly. So it was really hard for me. So they did x-rays. And then they said that, and I'll put the x-ray here.
You're crying now.
A little bit, yeah.
He's right over there. He's fine.
No, I know. He actually started eating today. But so his heart was enlarged. A lot of the vessels in his heart were enlarged, and like the major arteries, which means cardiac disease. So Olaf is 33 years old, and he spent 30 years of his life on sunflower seeds. It's like eating McDonald's. It's the worst thing you can possibly feed them. So now he's on like a great diet, but all of that catches up, and the birds are fine until they're not. It was literally one day to the next, like totally fine, had no idea. And we bring him for yearly blood work. They said all of his other blood work looked amazing. So like if everything was fine and he continued eating, we wouldn't have known, because we don't really do routine x-rays or things like that. So all of his organs look great. Once they got the x-ray back, they said it's probably a secondary infection, just not feeling good, and it's heart disease that we're dealing with, not an infection. So then they wanted to call in a specialist to do an ultrasound, and unfortunately he was completely booked out, so that took like over a week. So I had to leave him for a week. And then Chris and I were trying to visit him like a couple times a week, and like that was hard.
Hour and a half each way.
Yeah, hour and a half there and back. And that was hard, like leaving him there, just like not having him eat. I brought him like his favorite food. I was literally giving him graham crackers and he was just dropping them. Like he wouldn't eat. So they would hand feed him. Thank goodness he at least like had the hand feed. Like he was taking the hand feed pretty well, because if not, they were going to have to tube feed him. But so basically they're like, this is something that we think we can control with meds, and you know, we cut it early, we'll do the ultrasound. So we had the ultrasound last week. They started him on like heart meds, and he does have heart disease. I'm gonna butcher the name, atherosclerosis. Atherosclerosis.
Asclerosis.
Yeah, something like that. This is so embarrassing being in the veterinary medical field, but yeah. So he's on 2 different heart meds, and we're still doing antibiotics, and they weren't sure like 100% with the ultrasound, but it looks like there potentially may be like a blood clot in one of the arteries. And I'm like, does this mean he could just like drop dead? Like, what does this mean? And she's like, well, hopefully not, but there's like not really 100%. Like, you know, you don't know. So we brought him home. Today is Friday, and Chris is actually heading to work. We brought him home Monday after 2 weeks of being hospitalized, and we ran every test, every culture. Like we did a full workup just to make sure we covered all our bases. So Monday I was hand feeding him. He wouldn't really eat. And then the last couple days he's kind of like picked up. So today he's eating pellets, which is like a huge deal. He's eating his chop. A couple days ago he was just picking out like the pasta and the peas that he wanted. But I mean, today he looks a little better.
He's acting normal.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's eating.
I wouldn't say his diet's 100% normal, but I'm glad to see him. I'm going to go actually peek on him in a little bit and make sure he's okay. We have him in the aviary today. They recommended bringing him inside just because he's on 6 different medicines right now, medications. So in the morning, literally it's like 6 different syringes. And then we have the recheck next week. We'll probably stop all the medication except the heart medication. That's twice a day. It's 2 different meds. So that will be manageable. And he's actually very good at taking his medicine. Could you imagine if that was Chloe or Cupid?
Yeah.
Yes, it tastes good and he likes it, so he's pretty easy. But yeah, it was really scary and it was horrible. It was really horrible. I thought he was gonna die.
Yeah, it was
bad.
really sad. I mean, he's obviously a member of the family, and we love him so much. And just hearing him when he's like, "I love you. I love you,"
and saying goodbye to us as well.
Yeah, when we're at the vet and he's like, "I love you, goodbye," and you're like, "Oh my god."
And it's so hard, and like I try to share most of like our lives on especially Instagram. Instagram is so much easier because I just do like daily stories. But then I had concerned people like reaching out to me, like asking me updates on Olaf. How's Olaf? And it's just so hard because you don't have answers and
you don't want to talk about it.
Yeah,
that's the thing too, is like as social media people, like we have a large following. So whenever something does happen with an animal and we're obviously very upset about it, and then everybody asks, and they have good intentions, obviously, people care, but then it's like Elmo. I mean, still people ask me about Elmo. Oh, how's Elmo doing? And then I have to be like, oh, Elmo passed away. Oh my God, why? And I have to go through everything all over again, and it's just traumatic, and it's just
we haven't, should we mention Elmo, because we didn't really go into detail about Elmo, and he was a big part, and it's super sad, but I mean,
you mean like the medical side?
Yeah
I mean, we talked about it and posted about his passing, but again, like, it's not fun to talk about. And people, love these animals too, and they become attached to these animals too, and then they want to know what's going on. And God, I don't want to.
It's hard.
Go into it. I don't want to talk about it. It makes you just like start crying, and it just sucks. I don't know if I can tell Elmo's story. Yeah, I can already see you it's starting to like look like you're gonna cry, and it's like So it's traumatic.
But I do want to talk about it because I don't think we've ever gone into detail. You can walk away if you don't want to hear it.
No. Because I'm gonna start crying too. Yeah. God.
These animals, man,
Yeah, I mean, we love them, and that's.
And Elmo came from horrific conditions. Elmo came from a animal facility where he was attacked by a hog, and he was literally put in solitary confinement. In a cement room with one perch, no toys. He chewed off his toes. He chewed holes through his wings. Was terrified of everything, and just seeing the progress we made. So I really try to be I try to look at it positive. It was a success story.
Yeah, it is.
He flourished so much with us, and it was just such an unexpected traumatic ending, which is it's to be expected because he was on a garbage diet for his entire life, especially with eclectus parrots. It's so important that they have fresh vegetables and a very specific diet. He definitely wasn't getting that. He was on a really the crappiest pellet diet that you could think of. But Chris was gone, so I had to deal with that death by myself, and I feel that happens a lot. And it's not his fault. He has to make money to run this place, but I definitely deal with a lot of the sickness and the deaths alone. So as soon as I realized something was wrong, I called the vet, and I rushed him over, and I already knew it wasn't going to be good because in the car he just started crashing, and by the time I got there and was running with the carrier into the vet, he couldn't even stand. So it was really bad, and just the vet calling me and me having to make all these medical decisions whether they should try to resuscitate him or stop. So I think they resuscitated him 4 different times, and it's just so up and down because originally they called me and she's like, he he's, you know, obviously we're concerned, but right now we're just doing what we can. If you don't hear from me, it's good news. No news is good news. And then she called me like an hour later and was like, hey, he's crashing. Like, his heart is stopping. Like, do you want us to resuscitate him? And like yes. So she hangs up, she tries to resuscitate him, calls me back, and she's like, we lost him. You know, he has no brain function, no brain activity. And I'm like devastated. And then she's like, wait, hold on 1 second. So she puts me on hold, and then she comes back and she's like, our team did a great job. We got a heartbeat back. So, you know, that gives you hope. And then an hour later, she called me again that he was in cardiac arrest again. And they were breathing for him. And usually once they are like on like life support, like once they're breathing for them, they usually don't come out of that. And he came out of it and he started blinking. So it gives you hope again. But that happened like 3 different times, and they couldn't save him. They were amazing there. Like, I have nothing but amazing things to say about them, but it was just, I wasn't expecting it, you know, like, I don't think we've ever had a bird slowly decline. It's always 0 to 100. And that's why we try to do like yearly blood work with the birds, but this definitely scares me because we do yearly blood work with the cockatoos and all his organ functions were great. So now I'm wondering if, like, with our older cockatoos, since they're all in their late 20s and early 30s, if we should just go in for routine echoes for all of them and check heart function, because they were all on a crappy diet.
Yeah, it's
a lot. And this is another reason why I've really stepped back on taking birds, because I get so attached and I can't handle this. Like, rescue is hard.
We're taking in animals that are already coming to us half dead. And then we nurse them back to health and we get them good and they're doing great. But then they have long-term health complications from their past care that catch up to them eventually. You know, it's like you can't eat McDonald's every day for your whole life and then decide you're going to get fit for a year. The damage is done, you know? So like, that's what keeps on happening. It's like, we get them back on track and we get them looking good and we get them looking healthy and everything's going great. Like Elmo, and he's doing amazing.
He even learned how to fly. And we haven't shared this story. Like, 3 or 4 months before he passed, he broke out of our screen enclosure, because like 3 years we had him in like either like a patio with like a screen where he could get sun, or we would take him outside on our shoulder, and he couldn't fly. He didn't have the muscle memory. He had holes in his wings. This bird, when I tell you, was flying like an eagle. Like, he took off, was in the highest tree. I'll have to add some photos if I could find them. And he was like soaring, and it was incredible. So it just goes to show you
he was so happy.
He was so happy. He had holes in his wings, no feathers, missing toes, and I chased him, my poor neighbor, and she was pregnant. Oh my god, my poor neighbor and I chased him for like 2 hours around the block, and we ended up getting him. But it's just such a success story. You know? And
he did so amazing.
Yeah.
And then his past caught up with him.
Yeah. You know, so I got emotional today. Usually I think I can like talk about it without crying, but yeah, I mean, we gave him a good life, and I'm really happy that we had him. But yeah, and then so the other part of it too is a lot of these people that like surrender birds, and this is kind of why I've had to be pretty firm about, like, once you surrender an animal, like, that's it, it's ours, and like you can follow along on social media, but I'm not giving you play-by-play updates, is because a lot of people are very set in their ways and they don't understand. So they have been feeding their birds sunflower seeds for 50 years, and the bird's 50 years old and it's still great, and they don't realize that damage is being done. And again, it's fine until it's not.
It's the smoker, you know. It's like, oh well, my grandma smoked a pack a day every day and she lived to be 90, and it's like, that's nice, but you do understand, like, millions of people die every year from that, right?
Yeah.
Like,
so I don't want to be blamed. And one of my friends actually reached out to me, and something similar happened with a bird that she took in, an older cockatoo, and she was asking for advice because this bird was so messed up and ended up dying of like a horrific infection from an untreated wound years ago. And the woman's like blaming her. Like, it was fine when I gave it to you, even though all of the medical notes say this is, you know, but so it's hard. It's really hard. So I haven't even told Olaf's mom, and I don't know if I will, honestly. She's not on social media. We stay in touch once in a while, but I don't know. Just because, again, like, I already have so much anxiety, and I know that she's gonna have anxiety when she hears this, and I don't know if I can deal with like the texting, like, is she okay? Is he okay? Like,
just a nonstop
Yeah.
back and forth
'Cause
while you're
I-
trying to run an animal sanctuary.
yeah, and I already have horrible anxiety, so I might just say everything's fine. I really don't know, but it's hard, and these are like the things that we don't really talk about publicly, and like I think we should. Like, there's so many things that go into running a sanctuary, and a lot of the times, like, dealing with people is one of the hardest things, I think.
Well, people, and then the losses,
Yeah.
of the animals. But yeah, just doing a rescue, having animals surrendered to you from people that did not take good care of them, and then when the past catches up to the animal and it's not doing well, but now it's in your care, they blame you and they're mad at you, and it's like you fed your kid McDonald's his entire life, and then
And people aren't doing it malicious. Like, we do take in neglected animals, abused animals, but like most of the birds, it's just people being like ignorant or like stuck in their ways,
my arm's
like,
falling asleep, guys. Sorry. Gotta switch arms here.
But yeah, I mean, even now, I'm sure people don't realize that sunflower seed diet is like the worst thing that you can
Oh, I had people
feed.
replying to my story about it.
Like,
So
shocked.
yeah, so why don't you say what they should be doing and what they shouldn't be doing?
Yeah, well, our birds, in my opinion, are on the best of the best that you could possibly offer. So all my birds are eating the seasonal feeding system from Bird Trick. So it changes every couple months, and they get like different grains, different like kinds of beans. Sometimes they get like whole grain pasta, a bunch of different seasonal vegetables. So that's what they should be eating. Olaf would eat buttered pasta, buttered steamed broccoli, and when she told me
And
what
just
he
sticks
was
of
eating,
butter.
I think she's like, he's on the A12 diet. And I'm like, I've never even heard of that. So like I Googled it on Amazon, and it was all sunflower seeds. It was like ABBA 12 or something like that. Something crazy I've never even heard of. And it was like all sunflower seeds. The same with Ricky, our one-legged parrot.
Oh my God, the bowl.
Oh, dude,
filled
I
to
almost
the
had a
top.
heart. Did you see my face when
Yeah.
they brought her in?
Ugh.
Is your arm falling
Oh my God, it's so bad, guys. Sorry if the camera's all over the place.
Well,
and I'm
first of
just
all,
like,
with Ricky, we didn't even know she had one leg until they brought her to surrender her, and they're like, "Oh yeah, she has one leg,"
by the way,
which was so funny. But yeah, on the phone, I'm always like, "Well, what are they eating?" Oh, she's on a really good diet. She's a really good eater.
She's a really good eater.
Surrender her with, I'm telling you, like a bowl filled to the top with sunflower seeds, and I almost had a stroke. I looked at Chris like, "Oh boy." That was so funny. It's funny, but it's not funny. So
yeah, it's like my kid exclusively eats Skittles. Okay,
it's so bad.
he'll do great at daycare.
It's so bad.
Here's a bag of Skittles for him.
Yeah. So, and then my birds get a pelleted diet as well. There are some different pellets, like high-end pellets. My birds personally eat Rowdy Bush just because I've had great success. A lot of these birds that are eating sunflower seeds, it's not always the easiest to get them to switch over, but I've had luck with Rowdy Bush, so that's what they're eating. But if you have a bird, I highly recommend like the Bird Tricks diet, and just, just doing your own research and not feeding sunflower seeds.
Yeah.
That's a cute photo. Oh.
Should have done this angle from the beginning where my arm doesn't fall asleep.
Yeah. So yeah.
That's our updates.
That's our update.
Olaf, and yeah. Do you want to talk about Genora?
No. And by the way, guys,
While we're being depressing.
in October, after a couple months, we did lose the fennec fox that came to us, and it was, again, very unexpected, very traumatic for me. I had to deal with that alone. I don't want to discuss details. I don't want to talk about it. I have people asking me and Chris like daily, even though we've mentioned it briefly on Instagram. So unfortunately, we don't have her anymore. And that said, I don't really want to go into detail. So now that we got all of that out of the way, do you want to go see Olaf and see how he's doing in the aviary?
Yeah, let's go say hi.
I saw you eating some pellets. I did. Yeah, you feeling better? Is your heart feeling better? You took years off my life. You did. I love him. He's just like the sweetest bird. We would do it for any of our birds, obviously, but he's He's so sweet. He's like one of the, well, he is the only bird that will step up to anybody, and like he's never bitten anybody. He's just a really good bird. So
He bit me this morning.
well, it's because he has a weird thing with shoes. He has a weird thing with feet. He's not biting you to be mean. Like he just has a weird thing with feet.
Olaf.
Like, you bite daddy's feet.
He's got the opposite of a foot fetish.
Yeah, I don't know what it is with feet. You feeling better, babes? Love you, baby.
You would do this for any of them,
Of course.
including Rocky.
No. Not Rocky.
Rocky! I love Rocky.
No, Rocky is aggressive towards women. Of course we would do it for Rocky, but you would be the one bringing him to the vet because I can't even touch him. So I know that was a lot of information and that was a little bit depressing, but you know, that is the reality of the animal sanctuary and making this happen and taking in sick animals. So I'm so happy that he's back home and seems to be on the mend, and we'll keep you guys updated. If you don't already follow us on Instagram, that's the best way to get updates. I'll put our names. I'm Gabby Nicole. Chris is Gator Boys Chris. It's just a lot easier for us to just, you know, as we're feeding the animals, just story it. And that's where a lot of our daily updates come from. So if you have Instagram, follow us on Instagram. We are going to try to post more. Things are kind of like finally coming together. So we have a little bit more time to film. We concreted our second alligator pond. So that's exciting. So yeah.
Well, I was gonna say too, I have my other YouTube channel too. If you guys go check it out, it's called Gator Chris, and I've been trying to do like more vlog style stuff. So like, we have two channels now. So Gabby and I have the Florida's Wildest channel here, and that is mainly for us together. And then I have the one Gator Chris, and that's more of like kind of me vlogging or me almost kind of like podcasting, where I do like really long nerding out conversations. But it's also good to have two different ones because of how fickle social media can be and how you can get demonetized or even deleted randomly for things that make no sense. So
I know we've been like demonetized for unoriginal content twice in the last 3 months. So when everything is ours, like us, it makes no sense. It's just like robots that
it's good to diversify.
Yeah.
But either way, yeah, why don't you say our goodbyes here?
Thanks for watching, guys. Thank you for the support. Like, share, subscribe. And Olaf appreciates all of the support and the love.
Olaf.
Right, baby?